Hey, what's up? I'm Amin. I'm gonna talk about semicolons. Well, in particular, semicolons, but um, maybe differences in programming languages that could affect how much money does a company make. But in this case, this is a thought experiment. I made this thought experiment out of nowhere because I was suddenly curious about how much does it cost for a company? Yeah, I was thinking about semicolons. There's been a long debate about semicolons. Why do we use them? Should we use them or not? In JavaScript, they are not mandatory. In many languages that are derived from C, they are mandatory. But in this case, in JavaScript, which we are talking about, they're not mandatory. So it's actually up to you if you want to use it or not. A lot of companies decide to use them. A lot of companies don't. But probably all of them have decided on something, otherwise it will be all over the place. This is not a serious video about using or not using semicolons. Please do not take this um, as a reason not to use semicolons or as a reason for using them. This is purely a thought experiment, just for fun. So yeah, if you're interested, let's have a look. So I did this by Googling um, a lot of rough estimations. How much time do developers spend on coding per day? Um, how many characters they type per day? How many developers each company has? This is based on rough estimations, so not accurate. Do not quote me on this. All right, so let's start from this calculation here. If you're interested to know how much is the cost, skip to the end of the video, you'll see it there. Otherwise, yeah, let's look at it step by step. So the first assumption that I made is that developers type 200 characters of code per minute on average. Another assumption is that each line of code is about 80 characters on average again. So I'm assuming every um, minute you have to type almost around three semicolons. So you're basically um, the ratio between the semicolons and the rest of the code is 3 to 200. Now, now I need the cost of developer per minute. So based on the annual salary in the US, I made an assumption that people get paid around $120,000 on average, and times two because what you get as a salary is actually half of the cost for the company. So the cost for the company is actually important in this case. So the company pays you not directly, but pays $240,000 to have you with them, and that translates to a number. If you uh, divide it by 12 per month, divided by 160, the number of hours you work per month, and then divided by 60 to get that cost per minute. Okay, now we can calculate the cost of semicolons for the company per minute. It's gonna be the ratio of semicolons versus other code times the cost of developers per minute. And now afterwards, it's just extrapolating that to uh, an annual cost, which is simple. You can get the cost per day, then you can get it per year, and then based on how many employees you have, you'll get the annual cost for using semicolons. In this case, I assumed Microsoft has about 100,000 developers, rough estimations again. If that's true, then we will see the annual cost for Microsoft um, for the developers to just type semicolons. And I made another assumption based on the numbers I found on the internet, not accurate probably, for Adobe, based on 12,000, almost 12,000 developers. And then in the end, I assume that, yeah, you want to calculate that for a company of almost 1,000 employees. So let's see the calculations. If you run this code, which is actually shared in my gist, I will link that in the video descriptions. So you will see the cost of developer per minute is $2 in USD. Cost of semicolons, cost of typing semicolons, therefore, is about 3 cents per minute. That translates to about $4 roughly per day and about $900 per year. So annually, for a company of 100,000 developers, it'll be around $90 million. For Adobe with almost 12,000 developers, it'll be around 11 million. And if you have about 1,000 employees, then you're almost spending $1 million on just typing semicolons. Okay, so what does it all mean? Does it mean that we shouldn't type semicolons? Not at all. What does it really mean? In my opinion, what it means is that, well, the first thing, software companies, obviously spend a lot of time and money on software development, which is kind of given because they're software companies. And second of all, small quirks of programming languages can actually have large impact, or rather large impact, on the company costs. In this case, typing semicolon is probably one of the negligible ones. I didn't expect it to translate to this big of a number, so that was mind-blowing for me. But a lot of things can actually have impact. For example, type safety for your variables. For example, Java could be very different than Python in a sense that how much time you spend on getting the code right, how much time you spend on typing the code, and so on and so forth. So this actually was a thought experiment for me because I was curious. I knew that the cost of developers are high. I was just curious to know how high is that. A small variation code in languages could really have an impact on how much money you spend on the software development. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested to know whether you should be using semicolons or not, that's not at all related to this video. This was just like a fun video. If you're interested, probably I'll make another video about that, or you can Google it. I think it's one of the longest debates in the JavaScript community. So thank you for listening, and see you around.